going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. A little bit of something extra for you guys this week, as we're heading tomorrow into the No Surrender pay-per-view for TNA. I will stick a quick plug in here. I've already got the pay-per-view day hangout set up for that. Please join me, starting around 6, and we're running right until midnight. Come on in, sign the guest book, start a conversation with whoever else is in the chat. They're a lot of fun. Hope you guys decide to join. Now, haven't done... Well, definitely not by myself. I haven't done a pod specifically focusing on NXT in a long time, and you guys know I love NXT, and we're in WrestleMania season, which means we're in Stand and Deliver, oi oi oi, season as well. And, unfortunately, I'm coming up here today to talk about NXT, to talk about Stand and Deliver, as a NXT fan, and as somebody looking forward to Stand and Deliver, about the huge problem that's facing NXT right now, and it's a huge problem that gets dressed up as a huge compliment, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. Myself, Jake, even Cody when he's joined us for some conversations as well. Shout out to Cody, go subscribe to Cody, he's a good dude. Jake, you guys know how good Jake is, so go subscribe to him as well. Countdown ended. But we've all sort of dropped the same compliment, and it is a compliment, on NXT. NXT is where ladies wrestling lives. And it's true, and the ladies division is killing it in NXT. The ladies division is the dominant division in NXT. And there, let me be perfectly clear before I go any farther. There is nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying you've got a guys division, you've got a girls division, or a women's division, I should say, and the women's division is kicking the ass of the men's division right now. There's nothing wrong with that per se. Except... if you got a great men's division and an even better women's division, and that's why you say the women's division is better, that's fine. What we have right now, with the exodus of guys like Obafemi, like Trick Williams, like Javon Evans, who all sort of went up in a lump, and there's a couple more people that I presume are going up sooner than later, what you have right now is a women's division that's doing fantastic, and a men's division that is noticeably, obviously, clearly lacking. And that's not great. That's not the great version. I don't want to be saying that the women's division is kicking ass just because the men's division sucks. I want to be able to say, hey, maybe one day the guys did better, one day the girls did better, or, hey, the guys' division is great, but the women's division is even better. Like, they climbed a mountain, they climbed an escarpment. That type of thing. I don't want to say, like, one's a molehill and the mountain obviously looks better by comparison, because that's not a great conversation to have. And it's sort of an idea that I've been kicking around for a long time. I didn't know how I was going to make a pod out of it until somebody said on another podcast that I listened to, it might have even been What Culture, if I'm perfectly honest with you, right? It's like, oh, how excited are you about WrestleMania if you're not booking this story and this match and this dream match and this dream scenario and whatever. And what I've done is I've sort of transcribed that into NXT. NXT has Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver obviously is not a two-night stadium show like WrestleMania is. ... Yet. But the problem right now is if I was to book my own fantasy Stand and Deliver, everybody does their own, like after the Rumble's done and over with, everybody does their own, oh, this is what I would book for WrestleMania. This is the WrestleMania that I would book. I would love to throw together an NXT Stand and Deliver oi 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 fantasy card. But the problem is, right now, if I booked a fantasy NXT Stand and Deliver oi 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 card, it would be Evolution 3. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. This is not me fantasy booking Stand and Deliver oi oi oi. This is me saying, using that construct, that structure, to just underline my point that the ladies are running away with it and guys need to pick up their fucking bootstraps and give us something to sink our teeth into and something to talk about. So, if I was booking a Stand and Deliver oi 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 card, obviously you would need to get the title pictures out of the way first, and then if you want to call yourself a storytelling company, you have to have other stories away from titles that are equally riveting, equally engaging, or at least have some long-standing engagement from your core audience. I mean, obviously the ones that aren't for titles are going to be stories, and everybody is going to vary on a particular personal story as to whether it grabs them or not. Some people like, you know, the romance stories, the tag team breakup stories, the betrayal stories, the all is lost moment. etc. You know, the mega powers explode, etc. And I hate you because I hate you, or I hate you because we used to be friends, or I hate you because you stole my girl, or I hate you because you cheated the last time we fought. All of those stories are stuff where it really gets into the nitty-gritty of, does this story grab you or not, whereas a title match at least has the veneer of being a title match. But you have to judge every division, whether it's tag, whether it's women, men, mid-card, main event, etc. You have to judge it by, you know, do I care? Do I care? Do I care about the title? Do I care about the issue? Do I care about the people involved? Etc. Now, I'm kind of being unfair because I'm not going to talk about the tag team division on the women's side, because on NXT specifically, there is no women's tag team championship. And if they were going to have a women's tag team championship match, WWE women's tag team championship match, that would be importing some characters and potentially some interest from the main roster, which would kind of dilute the point that I'm trying to make here. So I hope that makes sense. Everything I'm doing here more or less is going to go around singles feuds. So let's just talk about some of the stories, some of them long-standing stories that exist in the women's division of NXT. Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. Izzy Dame happens to be the Women's North American Champion. At the moment, Tatum Paxley is over as hell with the audience. People love her. She's not hard to look at. She's a goth chick, so, you know, that ticks my box. It's fine. She's also super underrated in the ring. Everybody's behind her. The story that they did with her sort of losing all her friends. Now, I have to reiterate, I do not like them making Shotzi and Gigi Dolan leaving the company, reframing that as, you know, her friends left her behind, her friends neglected her, rejected her, whatever, because you're kind of painting the people that you just fired with a really, really bad brush. So that part's not perfect. But what it did was it left Tatum Paxley, who isn't a kid. I hate this idea, the idea that anybody that shows any vulnerability is being shown as a kid, because vulnerability in storytelling is a really, really strong tool in the storyteller's toolbox. But she was clearly scooped up by Izzy Dame, Sean Spears, Nico Vance, the culling in general, and they used her. They used her as a fourth member to help them cheat. They used her as a tag team partner for Izzy Dame. They used her in pursuit of their various goals and whatever, and then Izzy obviously turned on her, so now she's this, you know, this person that was vulnerable, that did have her heart broken, and she is gothic, so there's obviously like the crazy chick tropes in there as well. So now she can set her sights back on Izzy Dame. They did a fantastic video package on her, and yes, some of it was AI. Oh my god, the boogeyman of AI. But I mean, if you wanted to pull actual thorn bushes out of people's eyes, it might hurt, so maybe use AI. She's doing this whole rebirth thing, like, I don't need Izzy Dame anymore, I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, and it's her coming out of the water into the sunlight, and all those types of metaphorical things that wrestling likes to play with. And yeah, very, very easily do you turn this from a personal feud into a title feud. Like, you hurt me, you took away some new friends that I thought I had made, I want to take something from you. Oh, look at that, you have a belt, let me take that from you. I always use the example of John Cena, and I'm not saying Izzy Dame is John Cena, but in the John Cena heyday, the real reign of terror, not Triple H, who held it for maybe a year or so, not the real reign of terror that was John Cena, when John Cena was, you know, LOL Cena wins, all that type of thing. What happened with that, the only positive you could pull from that was when somebody else won the world title, specifically CM Punk, at Money in the Bank in Chicago in 2011. That title was not just a symbol of, hey, I'm the champion, which it should be, but it's also a, hey, I beat the system, hey, I beat the company, because that was the very, like, fans versus company feud. And when John Cena almost never lost, it was also the symbol of, hey, I beat John Cena. I'm one of the few people that beat John Cena, sort of amplified by the fact that it was still the spinner belt at the time. So Tatum Paxley wants to take something from Izzy Dame because Izzy Dame and the rest of the culling ripped her heart out. That's enough of a story. Izzy Dame's great in the ring. Tatum Paxley is fantastic in the ring. That's a good, solid, what you would want to perceive the Intercontinental Championship as back in the day, the work rate title, whatever. That's a solid title match with a lot of story and a lot of emotion and some prestige behind it. Yeah, you're going to have the culling on the outside. Maybe Tatum has some friends that nobody knows about, and they sort of come out and they nullify the culling. They cullify the culling. you know, who are some good guys that would, like, come out just to help her out so that it is an actual one-on-one match? The Culling tries to get involved right at the beginning of the match, and instantly, I don't know, some good guys like Hank and Tank come out. They take out the Culling. You get that, all right, I finally got you one-on-one, and she wins the title. It's not the world title that she held for 5 seconds, but it's still an amazing story going forward. Now, the other caveat to that, and I wouldn't just say insert somebody in there for randomly for no reason, but we also have the template, in NXT specifically, of the Undisputed Era, and the Undisputed Era is like Conquest of Gold or whatever it was, where everybody needed to have a title. In the women's division, you almost have that with Fatal Influence, because Fallon Henley, who we're going to talk about later, is the Speed Champion. JC Jane is the world champion for now. The only one that doesn't have anything is Lainey Reed, the newest member of the group, who again came in as Jasmine Nix was leaving due to a parting of ways with NXT. But she more than holds up her end of the bargain as a Jasmine Nix replacement, which is unfortunately what she's cast as at the moment. Not because she has a problem with either one of them, but for her to sit in the back with her partners who both have titles and say, like, I'm going to complete the circuit type of thing, and complete the Fatal Influence, you know, Conquest of Gold. We've got all the women's titles that are available in NXT. That's a separate story. You have that separate story. It automatically implants more prestige and more meaning on her getting the belt, and it doesn't necessarily mean that she has to have an individual problem with Tatum Paxley. But once again, here's Tatum Paxley, who's just gotten over a huge numbers advantage with the Culling, and now she's going to be facing off against Lainey Reed, who not only has backup, but her backup is already champions. Like, Stand and Deliver, and then a story immediately after Stand and Deliver. Now, the next one, not a title match, but a match that has come about with two people that have been seeking gold and not finding it because they can't get on the same page. It is the quintessential WWE Can They Coexist? Zaruka, who I think are really fun as a team. Zarya, outside of wrestling gear, is a fucking smoke show, and Sol Ruka's a smoke show regardless. Zarya, in wrestling gear, looks like she's the long-lost female member of the Legion of Doom, which is also awesome. By the way, she went over to TNA and fought for the TNA Knockouts Championship as well, which was equally fun when they had Danny Luna's visa issues, etc., and then they had a spot to fill at the pay-per-view and all that sort of thing. Love this deal that they have with TNA. They're not actually stealing from TNA, are they? It's a mutually beneficial, it's a symbiotic relationship for the MCU fans out there. Sol Ruka versus Zarya, it kind of writes itself. They were the oddball team that immediately shook off the idea of being the oddball team to being the team members that were complementary of each other. Sol Ruka is bound for the main roster. I don't think she's going to see an NXT World Women's Championship before she goes to the main roster. They already like her. She was in the final 3 of the Royal Rumble this year. And you know they had extra eyes on the Royal Rumble this year because it was in Saudi and because of all the wheelings and dealings involved with that. She was in the final 3. And look who she was in the final 3 with. She was in the final 3 with, I think, somebody correct me down. Oh, it was Tiffany and the eventual winner, Liv Morgan. So they see her in high stead. They see her in high regard. Yes, the Soul Snatcher is a very gifable thing. And it's, sorry, guys, always dry here. You guys know this. Excuse me. It's a very gifable, very jiffable, she's very social media friendly. She's personable. The crowd loves her. She's got, like, positive energy for days. She does have a little bit of the old school babyface, like inflatable arm flailing tube man Bailey from original NXT, without being quite so childish, which is awesome. She's got that like surfer aesthetic, so it's also a little bit laid back, a little bit of a party atmosphere. Jada Parker looking like she came right out of Mad Max. Don't hate that either. Speed and athleticism versus the big powerhouse. It's a tag team that used to be a tag team. Can they coexist anymore? Probably not. There's a little bit of a jealousy factor because Zarya is seeing Sol Ruka get all these shots that she's not getting, even though Sol Ruka is like trying to boost up her friend as well. There's a lot of story. It is I will say it once again, it is a cut and paste WWE, hey, they were a tag team for a bit and now they're splitting up. But it works, and they've bred familiarity within each other, so the story that they would know each other ridiculously well by the time they get down to brass tacks and have a match is already there. It's already there. they'll both have to tell that story of you know me and I know you. So the one who's going to win is the one that comes up with something brand new. Maybe it's not the Soul Snatcher. Maybe she pulls a brand new submission out of nowhere. Maybe Zarya, who's known as this brawler, this powerhouse of a wrestler who I really, really, really want to see go up against Rhea Ripley sooner than later. Maybe she pulls off a top rope maneuver that we've never seen before. Is it that one thing we never expected because we know each other so well? There's an amazing amount of stories you can pull out of a very cut and paste WWE cliche tag team breakup. Is it, Shawn throwing Marty through the barbershop window? No. Is it something we see coming a mile away? Yes, but that doesn't make it bad. It means that it makes sense and that we see it making sense before it actually happens. That's the opposite. It's the opposite end and it still works. Now, another one that doesn't need a title, because Sol Ruka and Zarya definitely doesn't need a title. They have tried and failed many times to get a tag title, and they're no longer a tag team. So it is motivated by gold, even though there's no gold on the line. Is that a logic that makes sense as well? Blake Monroe and Jada Parker is a newer thing. Jada Parker was gone for a while. Made a comeback, was interrupted by Blake Monroe, and now they're fucking with each other. Blake Monroe is taking like serial killer final girl like bubble baths in all her opulence and whatever, and Jada Parker coming up from the street, and I don't mean that in a bad way, and saying, why don't you just get down here and fucking fight? And they were supposed to fight this week, and it didn't happen, and it turned into a brawl, and they kicked all the security guards in the dick, because when all else fails in a ladies match, kick a guy in the dick and get a laugh. That's another conversation for another day. They wrecked the security guards. It was what it was. They're gonna keep going at each other. Jada Parker is over as shit. Blake Monroe and her character work is fantastic. Here's the thing, I don't give AEW credit very often. In the ring, I don't think Blake Monroe is hitting the same strides that Mariah May was hitting when she was in AEW feuding with Toni Storm, but that also has a lot to do with the in-ring prowess of a Toni Storm. Jada Parker is a very, very, very believable brawler. I don't think about Jada Parker and think about her putting over, what did Jericho say, the moss-covered three-handled credenza. I picture her going out and decking somebody. Or I picture her going out and doing the teardrop and dropping the ass on somebody. It's a cake match. It's sponsored by Mindy's Bakery. It's fine. Don't worry about it. CM Punk approves. It's such a clash of styles. It's such a clash of characters. Like I say, with with this almost being like timeless Blake Monroe at this point, can we say that, versus Jada Parker, who I said before, and I will say again, and people are going to misinterpret me, and that's fine, but she's got that very much from the street mentality. She's got a lot of that same mentality, and people get lazy and say it's a gangsta mentality. I don't think it's really that. It's one of those like, hey, you got a problem with me, you want to step out into the alley and we can sort it out mentality. It's very much how Michin carries herself. Michin has kind of found her niche in the WWE version of what we call a hardcore type of match. Like, she's doing the garbage bin matches with Chelsea Green, and she's coming out with a kendo stick to save her friends, street clothes and street fight and all this type of stuff. Blake Monroe, Jada Parker, clash of characters, clash of styles, doesn't need a title. We just fucking don't like each other. Same thing goes for Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice. Again, interesting, doesn't necessarily involve a title. Now, Lola Vice, if you're following the AAA side of things, I love the fact that she's a dual contracted person. Obviously, Lola Vice, wicked over in AAA. Her and Mr. Iguana just picked up the AAA mixed tag titles off of Ethan Page and La Hydra, because Chelsea Green was injured. She's injured her foot on SmackDown. La Hydra came in and said, I know something about those mixed tag titles. Ethan Page, guess what? I'm your partner now. And she's also in this weird, love triangle on AAA with Lola Vice and Mr. Iguana, and it's weird. It's from the Animal Kingdom, as JBL says on commentary, and people lose their fucking minds. Now, the interesting part about all this is La Hydra is in Las Toxicas, which is a women's trio in AAA, also including Lady Flamer, who is the AAA Reina de Reinas champion, or the AAA Women's Champion. Now, I think she's going to go through that faction. She's going to become, because she's actually contracted to AAA as well, I do think she's going to become the face of that division. I do think she's going to be the AAA Women's Champion, the AAA Reina de Reinas champion. And if she's still on NXT at the time, this feud that she has with Kalani Jordan now could be her bringing that AAA title and representing that AAA title in NXT, the same way that Trick Williams and JC Jane and people like that did when they had the TNA titles, the same way that the Hardys did when they picked up the NXT tag titles for 5 seconds or so. Kalani Jordan going and injuring her, sort of the way that timed out, it kind of boosted her stock, because it meant that, like, potentially, if you follow the shows in order, not realizing that, you know, they're kind of disjointed, you can imagine in your head, Lola Vice went in there and became a tag team champion with a broken hand. You know, do the whole Kurt Angle, I won this title with a broken freaking neck thing. Kalani Jordan's a weird one, because she was babyface and then she went heel for a bit. She was heel. She developed her heel character in TNA. She's one of the ones, I'm going to keep saying it, along with Trick Williams and Dana Brooke and JC Jane even, not in a heel fashion, but even somebody like a Javon Evans. There's a lot of people from NXT that have gone over to TNA. They've done character work. They've been in front of bigger crowds. They've made themselves feel bigger. Kalani Jordan was one of them. She had the TNA Knockouts Championship for a hot second over there, and did some good stuff there. And she went, they tried to turn her heel, but really it was sort of came off as she's still the same character, but she's just a little entitled and a little bit bratty. And now she's sort of leaning harder into this heel character, into this sort of malicious, I'm gonna hurt you. Maybe that means I don't think I can beat you in the ring, but I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to enjoy hurting you, and the next time we face, I will have set myself up with an advantage. She not only, like, stomped on the hand, broke the hand, and whatever in a match a couple of weeks ago, but then you saw this week on NXT as well, while Lola Vice was getting seen to in the backstage production area, new interim NXT general manager Robert Stone checking on her and saying, you know, you can't fight Kalani Jordan until the doctor clears you, and if the doctor says you can't go, then you can't go. And then she's leaning on the what do you want to call it, the chest of drawers or whatever in the medical area, and out comes Kalani Jordan. A wild Kalani Jordan appears, kicks the friggin' drawer, slams her hand in it, and she's done all over again. Now, she's wallowing on the floor with a potentially kayfabe broken hand again, while still clutching her brand new AAA mixed tag team title in the other hand. So the duality of Lola Vice is a really cool thing right now. I think they could do more with Lola Vice. I'm surprised that Lola Vice is not one of the ones that's gone over to TNA to at least have an exhibition with somebody. Lola Vice versus Tasha Steelz, just off the top of my head, would be a hell of a match. But these two going at it, very, very simple, like, hey, you know, you're kind of a bitch and you're trying to find all the advantages in life, but you also broke my hand, I'm going to break your face. There's enough of a story there. Kalani Jordan is fucking fantastic in the ring. Lola Vice, in a very different way, in a very different style, fucking fantastic in the ring, leaning into the history that she has with MMA. Now, I don't know what level she reached with martial arts or MMA, but it definitely shows, and she doesn't mind leaning into it. Both of them are hot as fuck, and I'm sorry, that is a factor. It just is. Ladies like to drool over Finn Balor's abs. I can point out that Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice are very, very beautiful ladies. I'm not the chick at Raw several years ago with the face fuck me Finn sign, because it only goes one way, right? This is a fantastic match overall. You know what? If Lola Vice picks up that women's championship, you could almost transplant... Now, I don't want to take it off of Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 but you could almost transplant this into AAA. You could have her pick up the belt at, say, Rey de Reyes, and then whatever the next AAA pay-per-view is, her first defense is against Kalani Jordan, and then they run it back at Stand and Deliver, oi, oi, oi. You put a bigger focus on that title. You put a bigger focus on AAA. You put a bigger focus, maybe from some of the AAA fans, on Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 as well. Do I want to encourage them to have more people cross over from TNA and be involved in Stand and Deliver? Also, yes, but I also think that there needs to be more than 5 matches on the card. Now, where you might think that they're falling off here a little bit, is Fallon Henley. Fallon Henley, who's fucking amazing. Fallon Henley, who's also ready for the main roster, by the way. She's a champion. She's part of the Fatal Influence Gold Rush, as I'm calling it, but it's only the Speed Championship. And that's, you know, people think what they think of the Speed titles. I will stick to what I've been saying all along. They're not the Speed matches are not the best thing in the world, but if you don't like them, you know they're only going to last a maximum of 5 minutes if it's a title match. You can go get some popcorn, you can go take a long shit, whatever the case may be. Fallon Henley helping maintain that gold rush while backing somebody like Lainey Reed, who wants to finish the circuit, like I said. Do an open challenge. There's a lot of stories for a lot of ladies in NXT. But if you want to have an open challenge for the Speed title or another tournament, because that's how they do it, there are the names that aren't quite being used actively every week on the main roster. And you got your Ariana Graces and your Adriana Rizzos and your Carly Brights and your Carmen Petroviches and your Thea Hales and your Tyra May Steeles. I get what people are saying about Tyra May Steele coming up from LFG and then not being used. I get it. It's fine. Ren Sinclair is another one in there along the same lines as a Thea Hale, as somebody who the crowd really likes. They like Ren Sinclair. They like Thea Hale. You know, we liked Ariana Grace until she went heel, and now we don't know what she's doing. In my last podcast with Jake, we talked about the whole, what the hell is Ariana Grace right now? But you can cut a large swath out of the roster of women that you might say aren't being used, but are enough of a character. Ariana Grace comes out, she gets a reaction, even though she doesn't particularly have a story in NXT. Now, she's in the Birthright, or whatever they're calling that Nepo group, but she hasn't had a feud with anybody on NXT. She's been feuding. She has a TNA Knockouts Championship tomorrow night, as we're speaking, but she hasn't had a match on NXT in I don't know how long. Adriana Rizzo is a character that's been off for a while because of the breakup of the family and whatever. Carly Bright's kind of floating around. Carmen Petrovic, the last thing I remember about Carmen Petrovic was that she was tag teaming with Natalia, and that's now Natty, and that could be a thing or whatever. But Thea Hale, people love her. I hate the title Lovable Loser, but they have put that title on Thea Hale. Ren Sinclair is kind of being a Kendall Gray cheerleader, but she's still there. People still like her. People liked her even in her role in the NQCC when it was a heel group led by a heel Charlie Dempsey, and she was trying to shine some light into the group. Like, people got with that. So there's a whole swath of people that could just randomly answer a Fallon Henley Speed Championship Open Challenge at Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi. Like I say, Ariana Grace, Adriana Rizzo, Carly Bright, Carmen Petrovic, Thea Hale, Tyra May Steele, Ren Sinclair, all of them are decently, I don't want to say it like this because it sounds condescending, but they're characters that are liked enough, loved enough, that if they came out to face Fallon Henley, who is fantastic, but a heel, and in a heel faction and all that sort of thing, and the Stand and Deliver oi 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 crowd would do, like, we like you, but we're going to boo you because you're in the heel group and that's what we're supposed to do. We will pop for the babyface that comes out to face you, because not only are they facing you, you're a fantastic wrestler. This is a hard metric to get through, where you've got 3 minutes to beat this very fantastic wrestler, but you've also got a numbers advantage. Let's be real for a second. And the last thing, and this is what I'm pretty sure, this right now, unless something changes, this will be the main event of Stand and Deliver Oi Oi Oi, and it's a rerun of JC Jane versus Kendall Gray, the current NXT Women's Champion versus the current Evolve Women's Champion. You're not going to put the Evolve title on the line, but you can, like, market it as being champion versus champion. That always has a little bit of extra sway. Kendall Gray, from the minute that she was in the Iron Survivor, has caught everybody's attention, myself included. She's fantastic. She can go from Evolve to Monday Night Raw. She doesn't need to stop in NXT, but if I keep saying that, we're not going to have an NXT roster. The match is going to be fantastic. JC Jane has been in 3 or 4 different groups as the secondary person. They gave her this group where she finally gets to be the head of it, along with Fallon Henley and an interchangeable third person, unfortunately. It's the tip of the spear if I want to talk about the Fatal Influence Gold Rush. The match is going to be fantastic. The match is pretty much a dead set for Stand and Deliver. I don't think I have to sell it to you guys very much. But here's this great up-and-comer. Here's this person who, even though she's a heel, is still pulling off a tiny bit of a sentimental, you guys never thought I would get here. Other people thought I would never get here. I came in at the same time. I was trying to scratch and claw my way to the title when Julia was here, when Stephanie Vacour was here, when Zarya was supposed to be the next big thing, when Jordan Grace came in and pummeled everybody, and I got the title instead, and I've still got it. It does what it says on the tin. It's fantastic. It's the biggest thing happening in the women's division. It deserves to be the biggest thing happening in the women's division. And I'm sorry, right now, I'm going to go back to it once again. It deserves to main event, stand and deliver, oi, oi, oi. We're just going to pretend that there's not a cut right there, but let me just say what I just said. A typical stand and deliver, a typical WWE pay-per-view in general right now has approximately 5 matches. I've just given you 6. Tatum Paxley versus Izzy Dame, Sol Ruka versus Zarya, Blake Monroe versus Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice, Fallon Henley in a Speed Championship Open Challenge. You can squeeze that in as a 6th match. And the rerun of JC Jane versus Kendall Gray, which I think, once again, to be repetitive, I think that deserves to main event stand and deliver oi 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 right now. That is a 6-match card for a brand that typically has 5 matches on a pay-per-view without even touching the men's roster and not even really having anything with the men involved unless you want to count Izzy Dame having the culling in her corner. Now, let's go to the men. Let's see what's going on in the men's division right now. You're probably going to get Ricky Saints versus Joe Hendry. Fine. Cool. Here's the thing. Ricky Saints is great. Joe Hendry is great. The caveat of most NXT title matches, especially when you get to WrestleMania season and oh my god, who's going to show up on Monday Night Raw? If you got a world title picture, one walks away with the title, the other one shows up on Raw the next night. So you got one guy. Okay. So you look at that and you look at who's going to go for the title after that. There's only 2 names, really, after that. And it's Ethan Page and it's Tony D'Angelo. Now, Tony D'Angelo is going around being a dickhead and fucking everybody up, but I still think somehow when they put him in matches with people, it's going to be against other heels. He's having his comeback match next week on NXT, and it's against one of the members of Dark State. Dark State are heels. Just ask Big Nick from the Wrestling for Life Network. We're healing on heels with the with Dark State there. So even though he's a dick and even though he's wrecking shop, he's doing it in a Steve Austin way. Like, anybody can get some, but I'm still going to get cheered and I'm going to be facing heels. So if Ricky Saints walks away as champion, his next challenger will be Tony D. If Joe Hendry walks away as champion, I would assume that means Ricky Saints is going up to the main roster. Joe Hendry's next challenger will be Ethan Page. But oh wait, that's a problem, because Ethan Page has to drop the North American Championship first, because you're not going to go all double champ in NXT on the men's side. Look at a guy like Keith Lee and how well that went. I can combine both titles. I can carry both titles. Next night on NXT, I don't think I can possibly carry 2 titles. Somebody else should carry this North American Championship. Now, Ethan Page, if we want to get that title off of him so he can slide up, and even then, you've only got Ethan Page, Tony D, and Ricky Saints. That's not a fully fledged world title division. Even if you count Ethan Page in that main event title picture, which he deserves. Let me be clear, Ethan Page deserves it, but he's got to drop the North American Championship first. And right now, your choices for somebody dethroning Ethan Page are really Miles Bourne, again, where the whole build is going to consist of him basically making fun of him for being deaf, which is fine, which builds babyface sympathy for the babyface. Miles Bourne is clearly avid about making this thing that he lives with every day part of his character. It's bringing awareness to a group that's not typically addressed in wrestling. That part of it's fantastic. But with Ethan Page, they've done this feud before, and they've done that base of build before. Like, there's cut and paste, and then there's cut and paste. And with somebody like Ethan Page, who can do some creative shit, to put him on the big stage to probably lose his title in a cut and paste feud is not great, and it's not a great first step in putting him, if you want him to plug that hole, in the main event scene. The only other one is Shiloh Hill, and I really like Shiloh Hill in the brief times that we've seen him so far, in the Iron Survivor, in the ladder match, doing the stilts thing and all that. As a character, he's a lot of fun. I've called him Happy Wyatt for a reason. I don't think they run with him just yet. I think they put him against Ethan Page if they want Ethan Page to retain. And if Ethan Page retains, then you've got one less guy in the main event scene, and it's down to being like a guy, where it's Ricky Saints trying to hold a division by himself, or it's Joe Hendry trying to hold a division by himself, or maybe they both go up and it's Tony D, just returned Tony D, where we still don't entirely know what his character is, trying to hold down a main event scene by himself. Ethan Page trying to hold down the North American Championship division, basically by himself. Oh, I don't even think I want to mention the men's speed title, because you don't have the same investment that you have potentially with the Fallon Henley situation. The only reason I brought up Fallon Henley and the speed title is her holding a title means all of Fatal Influence hold titles. There's nothing like that with Jasper Troy. By the looks of it, it's going to be him taking on Keanu Carver, and Josh Briggs is sort of still in the mix somewhat, so the Speed Championship is going to be also the big guy division, so big guys hitting each other for 3 minutes. I like what I've seen from Keanu Carver. I'm a big fan of Josh Briggs, and I like Jasper Troy. NXT is not giving me a reason, not that they're not giving me a reason to give a shit about these guys, they're not giving me a reason to believe that they give a shit about these guys. So you're going to throw them out there for a very limited amount of time, do the whole Jim Ross, make your minutes count. Well, it's hard to make the minutes count when you know you're only getting 3 minutes, and that's not even as bad as 3-minute warning. Thank you, Eric Bischoff, back in the day. But Spaz, what about the tag division? I have said I would like NXT to have a really decent tag division. I really have. I really, really, really have. If you said, what about the tag team division? Right now, my response, sadly, would be, what tag division? Dark State are the tag team champions. Hank and Tank are a lot of fun. Hank and Tank are the only entertaining thing in there. OTM just came back, and I still don't know what OTM is supposed to be exactly. And High Rise are lost in the Phantom Zone. High Rise were part of the NXT Invaders version 2.0 over in TNA, but all the other members of that have now been brought back to NXT to do this birthright thing, because they're doing the whole Nepo thing. And High Rise, did they have a match in TNA? I don't remember. When was the last time we saw them on NXT? Probably when Wes Lee still worked for the company. High Rise doesn't really count. OTM, Dark State, and Hank and Tank. That's Hank and Tank carrying the load of being the entire entertainment value of the tag team division for the men. So the tag division has one entertaining team. The Speed division is big guys running into each other. The North American Championship is Ethan Page and whoever else they can scrounge up. The main event scene is whoever out of Ricky Saints, Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, and Tony D doesn't go to the main roster, and whoever else they can scrounge up. Now, the only other thing I will say, and not that I think they're going to be pushed to the stars just yet, the only other thing we have right now is the Vanity Project, which is what's his name, the Evolve champion, whose name I can't even think of, which tells you all you need to know, and Swipe Right. And they're a bunch of dickheads. They are, what did I say about TJP a couple of weeks ago? They are being athletic Miz. They are going in there, they're putting in a shift, they're putting in the grind, and they are impressive. But right now, I think they're out there. Even though one of them holds a title, which is ridiculous, I think they're there to get the shit slapped out of them and carry over. They literally did Joe Hendry, the new NXT champion, versus the Evolve champion, and it was not even the main event of your weekly episode of NXT. I'm just saying. Like, there's one or two options in the world title picture. There's close to no options in the mid-card. The Speed title is a joke, whereas Fallon Henley on the women's side is sort of keeping it afloat with an interesting story, and the tag team division is non-existent. I'm going to say to the guys, and this is not, oh, let's go beat the girls. This is try to at least measure up to the ladies, guys. Pull your pants up. Tighten your laces, straighten your knee pads. Shout out to MDB. And get out there and fucking do something. Make me give a shit. Because right now, if I'm booking Stand and Deliver, I said it at the beginning of the pod, and I'm going to say it again. It's no kind of bad thing, but if I was booking Stand and Deliver right now, Stand and Deliver would be Evolution 3. And I don't know that that's a great thing. Now, we did just lose 3 big characters in Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans. We just lost them. We lost Wes Lee because NXT is stupid. Could have snapped him up when the whole Rascals thing happened. I want everything to happen for Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel coming over to be the next big guy representing TNA in the crossover with NXT, and either challenging Ethan Page or challenging a Ricky Saints would be the infusion that the NXT men's roster needs, and he's not even an NXT guy. I don't want anything bad to happen to TNA, but NXT shouldn't have to go. They shouldn't have to go to TNA hat in hand. The working relationship should benefit both shows, and it should benefit two shows that are already doing well. We shouldn't be going to TNA and saying constantly, can I borrow a cup of Trey? Can I borrow a cup of Leon? To make our men's division interesting, and that's where it's at right now. I'm sorry, you guys know me. I try to be as positive as I possibly can with NXT. But guys, get your fucking jock on. The ladies are kicking our asses here. Shout out to the ladies. The ladies are killing it. Your Tatums, your Izzies, your Kalanis, your Lolas, your Jadas, your Blakes, your Souls, your Zarias, your Fallons, your JC Janes, your Kendall Grays. You ladies are fucking killing it, and it's awesome. And it's the best the men's division can do right now to keep up. Take from that what you will. Stand and deliver oi 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 right now looks like Evolution 3, and that's the last time I'm going to say it. Thanks for listening. This has been a little bit of an extra pod this week. Tune in tomorrow. Join us for the hangout. Join us for the No Surrender pay-per-view day hangout. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.